Hello, everyone. This is Rachel, your stress management coach to all of you ambitious high achievers. And today I just wanted to come and talk a little bit about the process of finding a therapist when you are a high achiever or a very ambitious individual. I think we tend to look for specific attributes in our counselors or therapists. And a lot of times, if we don't find that, then that actually acts as a deterrent from getting us the things that we need. So I just wanted to come and talk a little bit about how to go about that process. So, as I mentioned, some of the concerns with finding a provider could be, you know, just not being sure how to go about it, right? Like when you think about all the providers that might be available to you when we go on certain directories, it's like, okay, all of these people here, how do I find the one that's going to be the best fit for me? You may feel like you're not sure of what to say, right? So you could be hesitant to, talking with a stranger, this person, a paid friend, or, giving money to somebody to help you that doesn't really know you. Some of us, especially us ambitious people, have this sense of hyper independence. So there's this sense of, you know what, I'll figure it out. I'll do it. I'll get it done. I don't need anybody else to help me. However, when it comes to finding a provider or a therapist that's a good fit for you, there are some steps that you need to take in order to make sure you find the person that's going to be the best fit for you. And so, a couple things I do want to highlight before I get into these steps is number one, I want you to know that your therapist will not work harder than you on your concerns. So, I think especially sometimes we might get into the room or on a call and just kind of assume that the other person will give us direction on where to go, right? Or what to do with our problems. Or the opposite might be true where we might feel like we could just come in and dump everything and then, the provider will sort it out. And now, to an extent, that is true. However, I want you to know that therapy won't necessarily fix you. The goal of therapy is to help you identify not only your pain points, but identify solutions and identify those things that you can do in this moment to help you bring lasting relief. A lot of what you will learn in therapy won't feel like it's helping. In fact, therapy tends to hurt or feel worse in the beginning before it starts to feel better. So I just wanted to highlight those things. Now, let's just jump into the steps. So, a couple of steps to consider when you are looking for a provider. Number one, um, when you're thinking about a provider, first, I want you to spend about 10 to 15 minutes just kind of brain dumping, journaling, to identify like what are your key concerns, right? And it's okay, it's totally fine if you don't get everything down. The main goal is to kind of get an idea of what are the things that are bothering you. I think a lot of times we have all these thoughts swirling in our mind, or we might have all these feelings that are going on and we can't really pinpoint. So the goal of this is not to really identify every little thing, but it's to get it out of your head and onto the paper, right? So, for example, thinking about what are some of the recent events that happened in your life, right? Did you experience a job loss, maybe a relocation? Has there been some birth, some new people into your life, some deaths, right? That could be a physical death or it could be a death of a relationship, right? Has there been any changes in your relationship status, parenting, anything from your childhood or trauma that's coming up? Or have you just been in a state of self-reflection and you're like, okay, I need to sort some of these things out, right? Another thing to think about when you're brain dumping is what are some of your feelings, right? Are you experiencing like sadness? Are you worried? A lot of anxiety? Are you feeling more irritable? Are you feeling maybe lonely or frustrated or annoyed? Like, what are some of the feelings that seem to keep coming back or seem heavy for you that you really want to deal with, right? Maybe take looking at some of your behaviors or some of the actions that you're doing recently. Like, are you sleeping more? Are you sleeping less? Right? Are you eating more? Are you eating less? Do you find yourself working more to avoid the drama, or are you working less to, avoid the frustration? Do you find yourself lashing out and snapping on people more? Or are you shutting down and maybe isolating and withdrawing more? Right? All of these behaviors or actions kind of give us cues, cues to some of the things that might be bothering us. And then also, what are some of your physical symptoms? Like, are you experiencing more headaches or migraines than usual? Are you having more body aches and pains, more stomach aches, maybe tightness in your chest? So as you kind of brain dump and think about what's been happening in your life, probably over the last, I'll say, think about the last 2 weeks to a month, what's been going on with you. Okay. So that's the first step, really spending about 10 or 15 minutes to think about what are some of those key issues or key concerns that you've been having. Right? The second thing you want to do is search your directory. So some of those directories might be melanin and mental health, therapy for Black men, therapy for Black girls, therapy den, Zen therapy, psychology today. There's a lot of options, and I'll even list some below. But when you go on the directories, most, if not all of them, will allow you to filter your list. So you can filter by gender, you can filter by insurance, by your location, by fee range. You can sort by if they have a free consultation, if they do in person versus virtual. So you want to play around with the filters according to what's most important to you. And then identify a list of at least about 5 to 8 therapists. Now, I know that feels like a lot, but trust me, it will make sense in a minute. But identify at least 5 to 8 therapists and like go through their profiles, read their profiles, ask yourself, does this person seem to address my concerns? Do they seem to have experience working with clients that are similar to me? Does it feel like they're talking to me when I read over their profile? Okay. If that provider does offer a consultation, I would highly encourage you to schedule a consult with the provider. Most consults are about 15 to 20 minutes. It really just kind of depends on what the provider offers. I know for my private practice, I offer a 20-minute consultation. Couple of things to note here. When you do identify that, I'm sorry, when you do schedule that consult, make sure you are in a quiet place when it's time to have it. A quiet place, minimal distractions, because this is really your time to identify, is this person going to be able to help you get the results that you want, to feel less frustrated or to feel less stressed or to feel more controlling your life, right? So you want to make sure you are in a space with minimal distractions. I understand, work from home life, maybe you have children, maybe you have pets locally, but if you can, sneak away to the car, sneak away to the bathroom, just to give yourself that 15 to 20 minutes to be able to talk with the provider, right? And so when you are getting ready for that consultation, it will be beneficial for you to already have some questions listed down. So some example questions might be, what is your experience with, my concerns? So you've already identified some of the things that's been happening in your life over the last couple weeks to a month. What's been their experience with working with clients with similar concerns, right? You also want to know what is their approach to therapy, right? So does this provider allow the client to take the lead? Is the provider more directive? Do they assign assignments between sessions? Do they take your insurance, or maybe do they offer a sliding scale, or do they offer therapy packages? Also ask them, what's the average amount of sessions you can expect, right? How often will you attend? Like, will you attend sessions weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? What do they recommend for the concerns that you have? Do they have session availability at the times that you need, right? Do they have, if you need weekends, if you need evenings, what is their availability, and does that fit with your lifestyle and what you need? It might be helpful to ask, what is their intake process? Most providers now do require you to have a card on file. So what is their intake process? Like, will you need to fill out some paperwork? Will you need to give some history? What does that look like for you, right? So in these sessions with the providers, make sure you're taking notes, right? After you talk with all of the providers that you've selected, some will shine more than others, some will seem like a better fit than others, but I definitely recommend you talking to all of them before you make your decision. After you talk to them, review your notes and see who may be the best fit for you. And it's okay to let the providers know, like, hey, I am interviewing a couple of providers. I want to see who's going to be the best fit. If this feels like a good fit for me, then I would love to call back and schedule an appointment, right? So it's okay. It's totally fine for you to say that, right? A few additional tips for you. Number one, it's okay to be nervous, right? It does take a while to build that rapport and open up to the provider. So again, essentially, this is a stranger that you're talking to, and it's okay to be open and honest, right? Sometimes, again, it'll feel worse for you before it feels better because a lot of times when you make the decision to come to therapy, you're now making a decision to work on a challenge that maybe you haven't thought about before or something that you haven't considered working on before. And now, essentially, we are going to rip the band-aid off and give you space to heal, right? So again, um, the provider will help you sit with the discomfort that you're going through in your healing process. That's their job, that's their goal. So I would definitely recommend once you schedule the appointment that you commit to at least 4 sessions to decide if it's a good fit, right? If it doesn't feel like a good fit, it's okay to let the provider know, right? The provider will likely try to make adjustments if they can, but if not, that's okay, right? You have, a list of providers. You can go back to that list and call the next provider to schedule an appointment. Okay. I think it's important to note that therapy is such a um, personal and intimate and vulnerable experience that I would encourage you not to give up on trying to find a provider. Like I said, especially when you are accustomed to doing things yourself, you're accustomed to having it all together. You're ambitious, you're a go-getter, you can solve all the problems, right? So it's really it can become challenging to kind of submit that or allow for someone else to give you support that you're looking for. And it can be hard to kind of trust that they will be able to handle you in your most vulnerable moments, right? And again, remembering that that's what the therapist is there for, and that's why they're there to help you. Okay. So, those are my 4 quick tips. Just to recap, definitely number one, spend 10 or 15 minutes brain dumping to identify what your challenges are. So when you're talking to the provider, you have an idea of what your needs are and to see how they can help you. Number two, searching directories. So I'll list some directories for you to consider, but search according to what you desire, what your needs are. Make a list of 5 to 8 providers and schedule a consult with each of those providers, making sure that you are taking notes. And then number 4, test them out and give it at least 4 sessions to meet with the provider. If it works, great, continue on your healing journey. If it doesn't, that's also okay. You have a list of other providers that you can reach out to. Okay. So if this information has been helpful, I invite you to please leave a comment, like this video, subscribe to my channel. If there are any other topics on stress or mental health, please let me know. I am wishing you peace and prosperity until we connect again. Bye.